Hi, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, delegates, for having us here. We have a couple of more demos to show you to close out life cycle. In the first hour of our presentation, we looked at the system, the deterministic system that goes into buildings across campus, branch, remote locations. What kind of technologies we packed in there and how we automate a lot of the design and installation component. What happens is after the initial design and installation, we said, well, let's unwrap the curtains a bit more, kind of tell you what else is inside the Nile Access Service. We really haven't talked about the components in the cloud. We really haven't given you access to the applications that we just showed you and what the actual IT admin control and visibility that we just referred to looks like. And so we're going to share a bit more about the Nile Access Service. Then we're going to dive into what happens if things go wrong after the network is deployed. Maybe there's a wireless issue. Maybe there's a wired issue. Maybe we need to fix a couple of bugs. Software still has bugs. Maybe we need to do a couple of upgrades. How do we tackle those? Automated operations. What does that closed loop automation look like for those type of things that we're shifting left and integrating into our technology? And we're going to recap and hopefully have a great open discussion Q&A. So here's the full picture that we build on top of that strong foundation. At the very bottom, Nile Service Blocks has an inspiration from, as you can probably tell by now, from the infrastructure as a service delivery methodology that we have accustomed to seeing in cloud environments. Single software release, deterministic design, a lot of the configuration complexity is eliminated. It monitors itself, it tests itself, kind of designed to maintain itself on an ongoing basis. That's how we come to accept cloud infrastructures. We're kind of bringing some of those principles to the edge. The way we deliver the infrastructure as a service at the edge is through the Nile Service Blocks. On top of that, something needs to orchestrate it, automate it, monitor it. Somewhere we need to crunch the data coming out of this infrastructure from sensors, APs, switches. We need to collect that data and create a single data model. The switches cannot have their own management portal with their own dashboards and reports and APs somewhere else and sensors somewhere else. They all need to be integrated so that we can start connecting the dots. And once we connect the dots, we can actually start driving intelligence in the infrastructure. We just told you that we eliminated tons of things from the infrastructure. Where all that intelligence went, it went into the cloud. We call it the Nile Services Cloud. We're going to talk about that, and hopefully we will see that more clearly in some of our demos. At the end of the day, infrastructure is doing its thing, cloud is doing its thing. We need to look at it, we need to monitor it, we need to see what's happening, we need to give information to our production network engineering team. Similar to the cloud, similar to site reliability engineering effort that you would see from cloud infrastructure providers, we actually have our own production engineering team that can look at this data and drive some intelligence. IT admins deserve control and visibility. Even the end users should be able to get a snapshot of the data, and they should gain some visibility as to what's going on. And one of the apps that Shiv walked us through in the last hour, that day -1, day 0 operations, that's also part of that app stack. So it's 3 layers: infrastructure as a service, intelligence services cloud, with visualization enabled through our AI apps. So with that, I'm going to recap our services block just as a reminder. Vertically integrated infrastructure, purpose-built to be delivered as a service, deterministic design, no snowflakes, no surprises. It's installed in the way we design it to be installed. We automate design and installation process like we showed in the previous hour. In the last 5 years, we came up with the zero trust networking principles that said, authenticate everything, authorize everything, encrypt everything, make sure that everybody is isolated, make sure that dynamic changes are reflected in the policy, integrate that capability in layer 3, and then start that data collection. That data goes to Service Cloud, as I mentioned, and with that, I will hand it over to Suresh to tell us what that looks like.
We talked about the Nile Service Block. Once it laid the strong foundation, now we talk about the Nile Services Cloud. And it has 5 different capabilities. First is design pipeline. Because when you think of network as a service, you have to think of day 0, day -1, and day 0. So Shiv Mehra showed that how we take the site server information and how we automated the network topology, the bill of material, network architecture. All of that is part of what we call design pipeline. And this information goes to the mobile app, which we'll talk about it a little later. And that information, frankly, with little to no training, someone can take the mobile app, can follow the instructions, and deploy the network. And if someone were to deviate from those instructions, our systems automatically detect and identify those deviations and let the installer know it. And second is, he was talking about networking Nile plan deployment. So we heard in the AI terminology in the IoT world, digital twin. For everything that's out there in the physical world, there is a corresponding there is a twin in the virtual world or in the cloud. What does it mean? Actually, typically you deploy the physical box first, and then you start building the corresponding instantiation in the cloud. We did the opposite of it. We start with the cloud first. We first build the digital twin in the cloud, what it should be in the physical world. And based off of that, once you deploy it, we continue to update our digital twin based on the physical twin. What all changes that happen, they're reflected in the digital twin as well. So this way, not only what we wanted, but what's happening in the physical world is continuously reflected in the digital twin. The next one is, once you have taken care of the deployment and then you have taken care of knowing anything and everything that's happening at the site, you need to secure it. And that's what we call defense hub. We talk about the campus zero trust, that's securing the network, but also securing the cloud itself. That's another important aspect of it. So not only we're SOC 2 type 2 compliant, but our cloud itself is secured by a third-party SOC. And more importantly, when you think of iPhone, the data that you have on the iPhone, only you have access to it because you have the passcode associated with it. Similarly, customers have access to their data. We do not have access to that data. They bring their own keys, similar to the passcode. They bring that keys. We use those keys to encrypt it. And even our tech support team doesn't have access to the data. So when you have a problem, you call our tech support team and you authorize that you are okay to look at my employee data to debug and troubleshoot. Only when you authorize it, we have access to that data. And once the ticket is closed, automatically that authorization is taken away. That's what we are talking about, the defense hub. And the fourth one is, this data is coming from all these sensors and from deep instrumentation, and they are coming in real time. And we have smart agents that not only processing the real-time data, but also historical data. All this data is being crunched. Then you have cognitive decisions. And we'll show you lots of demos. And cognitive decisions, taking this data, analyzing it, and doing a closed loop automation, end to end. And every time we do a closed loop automation, we take a snapshot of everything before you make the change in the network. Whether it's a Wi-Fi channel planning change, whether it's a network-related change, or software upgrade, we take the snapshot of every user and device and their experience, the TX, RX, the transmit failures, retransmit failures, all of that information. Once you make the change, we ensure that every user device has better experience or not. If not, that is when our production network engineer will jump in and take a look into it. That's how we go about cognitive decisions. With that, we built on top of the Nile Services Cloud, we also built applications on top of it. We built Copilot applications as well as autopilot applications. So Copilots are meant for IT administrator, who wants to know what's happening at the Nile Service Block or at the service. And with the IT administrator can log in and can see not just about the Nile Service Block, but they can also see everything around the Nile Service Block, about the applications, about the end user devices, about the infrastructure, the radius, DHCP, DNS. And this is one place where they can get the complete visibility associated with the Nile service. But on top of that, if they want to debug and troubleshoot about a particular user or a device, they have the entire information that they need, and single place where they can run 25 different tests. Imagine if there is an issue. Today you have to do ping, you have to do trace route, you do all sorts of different tests. They can come to Nile Copilot and just click on run test. We'll run all different tests to identify exactly where the problem is. That's one application that we built for the IT admin. Second application that we built is for the end users. Like when there is an issue, First thing is, Wi-Fi sucks or network sucks, and we call the IT person. Or we move away from that place or use cellular service. So we created what we call my.nilesecure.com for end users. So when you're on the network, you can just type in my.nilesecure.com. You will know right off the bat, is there an internet down? Is there a DHCP, DNS issue, or your applications? We had a situation when we deployed it at a customer site. Out of 200 employees, about 20 employees got pissed and went home saying that network sucks. We showed anything and everything that about the network, about the DHCP, DNS radius. This is a social media marketing company. And these 20 employees were trying to go to Facebook, October 12th, 2021, Central Time, 9 o'clock. And we showed Facebook was down. They did not believe us. 4 hours later, Facebook came out and said they were down. So we provide to the end users as well as to IT administrators that level of visibility through our Copilot applications. Then, now it's all about autopilot, right? This is for visibility, but whenever there's a change that happens, the data is coming into the cloud, and the cloud is automatically taking action, closed loop automation that we talk about. And if and when, and earlier I think because one of you asked, hey, is there a visibility into every switch and every AP if there is a crash that happens? That is where the autopilot software comes in. And our production network engineers, so for every incident that happens in the physical world, we automatically, tickets gets created, but our systems automatically close it. If you ever need to go back and take a look into it, that is where our autopilot software comes in. That's where you see the digital twin, everything that's happening at the customer site. And if and when you need to do it, you can go and get all the information that you need, and you can debug and troubleshoot an issue.
So it's the consumer of the Nile product that is going to use Copilot and Autopilot?
So Autopilot is internal.
Is internal.
Because we are delivering as a service and the software itself is taking care of it. Copilot is for the IT admin, one, and one for the end user. And that is what we're going to show you, how the Copilot you can use it as an end user.
So what you can do is you can actually log into this admin portal. This is what the customer sees. So we've created, that NSB that we were talking about. We have a mini NSB here. We've got a access switch. We've got a AP, and we've got a sensor. So you can actually go and start looking at all the data that we have in here, right? So that's what you can log in. That's the username and password. You should get through it. And then you can also connect to the network over here, which I would encourage you to do on your phones maybe. And when you connect to that network, you can just go and type in my.nilesecure.com. And once you do that, you should be able to see your own data, streaming right in there. So really the goal here is that the end user can look at this data, and you'll see some very basic things in there, like we have video conferencing signal, or we have web quality signal, or please disconnect and connect again. We try to make it as simple as possible. But one beauty that we have in here is you can also create tickets to the customers, ServiceNow, for example, anything that uses webhooks, that can be done. So connect to the network, you will get access to, to the end portal, and you will see your own device in there. And you can connect the admin portal and just poke around, and we can certainly help you with any questions you may have.
Thanks, Shiv. Thanks, Suresh. So I'm going to play my customer role a bit more, and then we're going to dive into 4 demos, one after another. Speed. Speed dating with demos. So I'm going to pause for a second. Everybody got the login information, URLs, SSID, password.
Somebody take a picture
of it, put
it in the chat.
There you go. That's an idea.
So
feel free to take screenshots and everything from, it's a demo system, so.
is the Copilot the part that's new and embargoed, or?
We're announcing, you probably won't be able to see some of the details here, some of the demos that we're going to show. Demos are really the big ones. A lot of the autopilot applications have been kind of under wrap as we're developing, as we're perfecting them. So that's going to be in the news on March 12th primarily. But the Copilot applications, admin portal, end user portal, they have been part of our last demo at NFD. So they have been already public. I'm going to quickly touch upon how this infrastructure gets extended. So let's say that we build a Nile Access Service. We're a customer of it. We have control and visibility. A lot of the life cycle is automated. Things are going well, but eventually we also need to be part of an ecosystem of technology. Maybe I do want to create my ITSM tickets in ServiceNow. Maybe I would like to run Nile Access Service in Google Cloud. Maybe I would just like to purchase it from AWS Marketplace. Maybe my microsegmentation policies, I would like to connect them to Zscaler or Palo Alto. maybe I need to integrate Palo Alto firewalls for user device visibility at the edge. Of course, there are ecosystem extensions that we can do. It's one of the advantages for ecosystem partners is they're dealing with a more deterministic system. So let's say that Palo Alto firewall version X integrates with Nile Access Service software release 2. Every customer of Nile runs software release 2. So the number of snowflakes in those integrations actually get reduced quite often. I upgrade to software release 3, Palo Alto engineering team integrates with the next software release. They don't keep integrating with the second release and the third one and the fifth one and then 20 patch releases, etc. So for ecosystem, we actually simplify interacting with the foundation, the networking layer. That pain of managing the life cycle of that integration actually goes down as well. We have also, in order to test this theory, we built 2 extensions ourselves. One of them is guest service. As a guest user, if you're using Nile Access Service, you could click a button and say, our point of presence, Nile points of presence, host all guest traffic. From switches and APs, tunnel everything to our POP. The MCA policies, our responsibility. Maintaining that POP, our responsibility. No more isolation, firewalls, DHCP, DMZ management at the edge. Cloud-hosted guest access, essentially. Everything goes to the cloud. It could be a lot of time saved for branch locations, right? Where I'm concerned about the security of those locations anyway. Now guest users can be tunneled there. Another service that we built on top of our core infrastructure is DHCP service. We can use your DHCP infrastructure, but if you say, you know what, I don't have DHCP server infrastructure at this site or at these buildings, these are rolling out, I just want to click a button and say, this segment of users and devices should get an IP from cloud-hosted IP address management from Nile. We could tackle that. So a lot of innovation here on the extensions. You'll probably see us talk more about those integrations going forward.